Hey guys, and welcome back to Bayonetta. Last time we took down Eastitia, the cardinal virtue of justice, quite handily, so I guess this time, it's time to paint it red and black in the broken sky.
Yes, and it's going to be pretty glorious. This is a really interesting chapter because you're going to a place that you've never really been before in Bayonetta.
Outside?
And no, we're going sky high for this one, and it's going to be pretty glorious.
Ooh.
So yes, I definitely wanted to make sure that I got that accessory, the Gaze of Despair, because it's going to prove really handy for some of the Alfheims that we're going to go into in the next couple of parts. I think it might actually be in this one, to be fair.
And just to really clarify for those of you who don't know what the Gaze of Despair does, it basically allows Bayonetta to draw the gaze of enemies to her, so if you're doing some sort of protection mission where you gotta have an out-of-body battle, they'll concentrate on Bayo's out-of-body form and not the barrier.
Exactly, and that's going to be an absolute godsend because we have got one of those coming up, and it's difficult, so without the Gaze of Despair it's nigh on impossible.
I wonder why this little girl can see monsters without the power of her glasses.
It's very peculiar, is it not?
Yes, I actually forgot her name for a second. It's Cereza. It's been a week since we recorded, guys.
Yes, cute little Cereza.
I ain't say nothing.
It's so cute!
And doubly so when you actually learn the twist.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, it also helps the little voice actress for Cereza is just so good. There are certain lines which are maybe not as polished as perhaps they should be, but I think she does just such an excellent job in the game, and she just really gives off that just cute little girl sound, and it's perfect.
What is it with Platinum Games and airfields? You notice a running theme here?
Yes. And also, I love that the way that she fixed Cheshire was by putting plaster over his eye.
Aw, such a mum thing to do.
I know. And I think it's one of the things that I really like about the progression that Bayonetta has in terms of her character, is that obviously at the start of the game she would have just been it's a cat, whatever, don't care. But she's actually grown to like Cereza and even Luca, really a little bit, even though she probably would never admit it.
Yeah.
And so she's beginning to care about them and the stuff that they care about, and it just shows a development, and it's great.
Pay very close attention to this, because I believe we're getting deep into the mystery of Luca's father's murder.
And even if we're not getting deep into that mystery, we're getting a whole part of very important backstory that is kind of integral to understanding exactly where Bayonetta came from.
You're standing in it. Welcome to Vigrid, 500 years later.
So yes, Bayonetta has been here before, 500 years ago, which is kind of insane.
Well, I mean, she was sleeping in the coffin for all that time.
It's very true, but seriously, she's over 500 years old, and I mean, even now, she's looking mighty fine.
Well, magical powers, mate. You know, there's a lot of witches that use glamours, I guess, to look that young. I mean, look at Roald Dahl's The Witches, for example.
Very true, but those witches are terrifying.
They really are. Why the fuck would you show that to a junior school? Jesus.
I mean, even the book was terrifying.
And the man exiled from his clan. However,
it's weird sometimes when you look at things that you watched as a child and you just think, why the hell did my family let me watch this? I mean, I remember, I think it was not long after Robin Williams died, I ended up watching Mrs. Doubtfire. My God, the amount of swearing and dirtiness in that film is beyond belief.
Well, what you could get away with for a PG rating back then was a bit more than what you could nowadays, I suppose. So yeah, there was a child born from both the Lumen Sages and the Umbra Witches, and if you were paying very close attention to the silhouettes, you can probably guess who that child is. It's Bayonetta.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Although the game's not going to properly let you know that until a few chapters' time. But you've got to kind of thread the mystery along a little bit, because what tends to happen in most narratives of this ilk is you do get a lot of end-heavy exposition.
Yes, yeah.
In terms of some of the mysteries. It's just the nature of when you have a mystery. A lot of the stuff has to come out towards the end, otherwise you just end up being an absolute confused mess.
Pretty much. I'm not gonna spoil the secrets of who the little girl is, but the fact that Bayo is even capable of good should have maybe clued you in on the fact that she's not 100% a demon.
But then, on a technicality, none of the Umbra Witches were fully evil. There is no real good and evil in the world of Bayonetta. There is only Paradiso, the human world, Purgatorio, and Inferno. And just...
It's adorable.
I think it's... Bayonetta as a game is so over the top and so bombastic that the fact that such a calm, poignant, innocent and sincere cutscene exists within it, I think just means the world to me, really. Because, and it really, it's moments like these that I think that Hideki Kamiya does so well throughout all of his games. Well, apart from maybe the original Devil May Cry. To fill your dark soul with light!
Yeah.
But since that moment, pretty much all of his other games have managed to walk that line between insane extravagance and those intimate character moments, and balancing them within a story. And I think that here, this is just a perfect example of a scene that sits so well within the overarching narrative of Bayonetta, even amid all of its nutsness. And it's just so heartwarming. It's part of why I would always say that what I always look for in video game narratives is sincerity above all else. Because you can do these sorts of emotional moments in games, and sometimes they can just come across as really cynical.
Yeah.
I mean, one prime example of that would be, for me anyway, right towards the end of Okamiden, which wasn't done by Kamiya, and like there's certain situations occur, and it's quite clear that they're trying to make you cry, and it's just like, no, this isn't going to happen. You haven't done the actual work to be able to pull this off.
Yeah, I can think of a particular Zelda game that tries that same trick at the end, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's a nice character, but you just haven't done the legwork. Anyway, we're getting a bit cynical ourselves here, so the astute viewer should have noticed that in the cutscene in the past, a witch who looked very much like Bayonetta gave a child who looked very much like Cereza a keepsake that looks very much like the one Bayonetta is currently wearing on her chest.
How very peculiar.
How very peculiar. Well, Bayo, unless you're going to grow wings, we're kind of SOL right now.
Well, thankfully she managed to jump onto the plane as it was lifting off. Luke is the one who's buggered up because he's got no hope of catching up.
See, since you went on that, like, mega maniacal rant, I noticed a bit of stuff there, Mr. Man. What did you do?
That was a terrible bit of editing, good lord.
And you're going to have to leave it in now because I've talked over it.
God damn it.
Well, anyway, the point was you got me confused and I mixed up Luca and Bayonetta. I will try and make amends for that before the end of the recording session.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine, because I left in that terrible bit of editing, so really, we've both cocked up here, so it's all fine.
What's the magic flute do again? You skip past that.
I don't know, because I've never used it, because why would I use it, because why would I use items?
Explain the section while I look up the fucking magic flute.
So yeah, this section of the Broken Sky, you are running through the ship, well, the plane itself, and you're getting pretty much punched to heck by all sorts of Wicked Weave attacks that are quite clearly coming from Jeanne, so we know that she's about. And it's pretty interesting, and also this is a really evil Umbran crow, like, just sitting there in a crate.
Well, he was just having a little nappy poo.
Yeah, Yeah, they were just transporting him away from this world, clearly.
Alright, Magic Flute. A magical flute is said to have been played by the mythical sirens. Releases a wave of high-frequency spiritual energy that causes heavy damage to nearby angels.
Okay, so basically it's sort of a screen nuke type attack.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah, once again, if you're going for those higher rankings in Bayonetta, you just don't use items in this game. So, I mean, really the only ones that I ever used on my first run through were the Red Hot Shot, which revives you instantly after dying, which is a godsend if you are needing that assistance, and then pretty much it was just health lollipops that I really used, just to obviously heal health. There are also lollipops for regaining magic, and I think there's one for increasing your damage output.
It's a bit late in the game to be talking about like health pickups and whatnot, don't you think, Richie?
It's very late in the day to be talking about that, but who cares really, because we're getting dumped out of the bottom of the bloody plane.
Oh, Jesus, it's like Uncharted all over again.
Yes, except this time we can actually get back onto the plane rather than having to clutch onto the side of a shipping container and hope for the best.
Oh, come on, Richie, you could just jump over those. I did that perfectly.
Well, see, the thing is that I did that perfectly on my first run of this particular chapter as well. It's just that what happened after that point did not go so well.
Okay, well, another thing that Platinum has a bit of a hard-on for is, like, industrial factory settings, I've noticed.
Yes, they do quite like that as a design choice. It works, I'm totally down with it, to be fair.
Well, I guess it must be easy to model. They can just shift around a few textures and bada bing, bada boom, sorted for a new game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nicely done. But you're not done yet!
No, you are never done in Bayonetta. But yes, Tom, I want to ask, did you find any of the optional verses or Alfheims in this particular chapter?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Well, you're probably going to hate yourself when you see where they are.
Oh boy. Alright, I'm waiting for it. Get in there.
So, the first one comes pretty much immediately after this verse.
I'm waiting for it.
So yeah, just got to wait that little bit longer for everything to go. Oh, get in there. So, if you climb back up here, then what that allows you to do is, one, get a broken witch heart, thank God, but also, you are then able to get all the way back to the first corridor. And if you go all the way back to the start of this room, and beat the optional verse that is located there, then you can get an Alfheim. So 2 optional verses in 1 location. Haha.
Jesus Christ, no wonder I didn't get like a gold or anything, and I did really well in this chapter as well.
Yeah, so it just went really badly for you because you didn't think to come back here. And now the reason that I had to re-record this chapter as I did is because what happens is that you end up with some other angels spawning in to this fight. And if you end up running away from this location before they are all dead, then the verse doesn't actually respawn.
Oh.
Therefore, I missed that verse, and I was just like, really? Really? So I had to re-record the entire bloody thing again. It was just awful and I hated it.
Well, you're not the only editor on this channel who's accidentally left in, like, retake markers before, so don't worry about it.
But it's all fine because I got the verse that time, and I will get into that, Alpha. I'm just going to have to drop everything off because that's in the way.
What are you gonna do? You couldn't take that through with you?
I probably could, but I couldn't use it in the Alfheim, so why would I keep it?
Alright, we're switching to Gaze of Despair here. Celine's Light, not helpful for this one?
Well, no, it is. It's still equipped, because you can have 2 accessories equipped at once.
Ah, okay. I thought it was like your weapons in that regard, then.
Well, it is, because
you
can
know
have 2 weapons
what
equipped
I
at once.
mean, Richie. Christ. You're so nitpicky this recording session.
Well, I'm incredibly sorry. You're just lifting it out for me. Anyway, so, we have enemies that are on fire. We have an out-of-body battle. And it's just awful. I really am not a fan of this particular Alfheim. because it's cruel, because there are a lot of enemies, and the kind of regular affinities and applause and stuff are on fire. So if you hit them, then you are automatically gonna get yourself screwed, because you're going to lose health, and then that's immediately going to take you down.
And it's going to, you know, waste your time, and you'll probably get pipped again in that time period. So, yeah, I see what you mean. Nice that you're using Sarava, by the way. That was my weapon of choice.
Yes, well, in this situation, it's really helpful. I would have said use Fire Durga, but I don't have 2 sets of Fire Durga, and therefore I can't... Well, I just can't survive getting hit by these guys. If I had dual fire Durga, got there in the end,
yeah.
I would be able to attack these guys with impunity because the fire wouldn't hurt me. But since I don't have that, I can't pull that off.
You made that look pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you see, that's because I've mastered the punch-kick-punch of Sharaba. It's basically the one of the most helpful Wicked Weave attacks you can use in any game. Any game? Any bit of Bayonetta.
Yeah, Richie,
really.
Come on, pay attention, mate.
I know, clearly my brain has just completely frazzled and is just deciding, no, this commentary session is just going to be a complete and utter melting pot of chaos.
Well, it's the first part of a recording session. No one's really paying attention on a Monday, let's be honest.
Oh, it's very true, and I mean, why would you be watching Bayonetta at this time of the day anyway? And also, I was just like, really?
You fell right into that, that was amazing.
I know, this was one of those moments where I was just like, I don't want this to be the recording that I use, but I've already recorded the start of this particular chapter too many times. It's not happening again.
Oh, was it the start of this particular chapter that was giving you the most trouble?
Well, basically what it was I think it was initially the Alfheim that gave me trouble. Then it was the optional verse that kept screwing me over because I kept not doing so well in it. Also, I think I had a few instances of the Grace and Glory being absolute assholes.
As always.
So, yeah, it just didn't end up being a good start to a chapter, and it was just like, why must I put myself through this?
Huh. So there's plenty of anti-aircraft defences on this island that the plane is headed to. Interesting.
Exactly, so there's all sorts of stuff going here, and I'm just gonna... I spelt that horrifically wrong. There we go, Gjallarhorn. Just because I'm intrigued by it. So the Gjallarhorn, which in Old Norse is yelling horn, or the loud sounding horn, is a horn associated with the god Heimdall and the wise being Mimir.
Huh. Did they translate that to Heimdall in the MCU?
I'm pretty sure they did, yes.
Well, among other things than just translating the name.
Yes, I mean, it's pretty much... Well, because one of the things with Norse is that you have a lot of ers at the end of things. So you have Heimdall, I can't think of any others at the minute, but there's a lot of Norse words that you just don't sit so well in English anymore. And also, yeah, this is where another optional verse is, and it's kind of cruel, because in order to get to the Alfheim, you need to get all the way to the end of this corridor of fans that are attacking you, so basically you need to get Witch Time going as you go down.
Oh, for a second there I thought you meant fans as in like people who enjoy your work. So we're like, we get to the end of it, when's a THD coming back into the group? Why hasn't FTA recorded a Sonic come in a long time?
Well, I mean, they might be here, I don't know. I mean, there's a whole bunch of angels, so perhaps. But we'll see. But yeah, you've got to kill all these angels before going into the Alfheim, otherwise you're going to miss this verse.
Yeah.
And if you don't use Witch Time to get down to the bottom of here, you are not going to get down to the bottom of here. So, good luck with that one.
There you go. Verse over. Oh no, there's still more.
There's still more, but thankfully they're... Well, not thankfully they're all the way back there, because it means I've got to run up to them to get to them, but still.
Can you use the fans against these guys?
I don't think you can. They can somehow manage to dodge the blades, despite the fact that, you know, we get hurt, but clearly they're assholes.
Well, you got a pure platinum there, mate, and took no damage, even though I'm pretty sure you took damage.
I'm pretty sure I did as well. I'm assuming they didn't count the fans in that as taking damage.
Bless up.
I know, thank God, otherwise that would have been a disaster.
Alright, simply use Witch Time. Nice. Oh, Golem.
Yes, we get to fight the Golem, and actually, this can be a really simple one, or it can be a little bit annoying, because obviously the only way that you can hurt the Golem is by going into Witch Time, and so you've not got much of a window in order to actually attack him. That said, you can sort of trick him into just doing the heck and hair maneuver.
Yeah.
So you've got pretty much a loop that you can go in, which really the Hecat and Hair transformation is by far the easiest one to dodge. It's just a case of getting the timing down to go into Witch Time to be able to activate this.
I have to say, I haven't seen any of these Outlimes at all. In fact, I was skimming through this part early just because I forgot what we were starting with this week, and I was like, hang on, Golem doesn't appear in this chapter.
Yes, there are a lot of quite spectacular Alfheims throughout, although we've really not got that many of them left, because we've got a grand total of one regular chapter with Alfheims in it, and then there is one Alfheim located in the final chapter of the game. So we've really not got many of these left to go.
Almost there, mate. Finish it off.
Yeah, it's not going to be a great ranking overall, but to be honest, I'll take that.
You have brought shame and dishonour on this commentary family, Richard.
What, dishonour on your cow, dishonour on your family, and so on and so forth?
Am I really that predictable?
Little teensy-weensy bit.
Fair enough, mate, fair enough.
Largely because that's exactly the joke that I would have gone for and clearly did go for against myself, so...
Oh, but yeah, I just really liked this chapter. I think I've always been a fan of, like, plane-based levels, though, so I'm very simple in that regard.
Now, getting out of here is a little bit of a pain. It's really helpful with Kilgore, because what you can do is, pretty much, if you punch, kick, punch, and hold on the kick, then the missile will sometimes aim for the fan. It just sometimes takes it a little bit of a while to click on, which is a bit annoying, but hey.
There you go.
Take what I can get.
Wouldn't this be easier by actually using the lock-on button?
I don't know whether it can actually lock on to the fans or not.
Well, I just daren't jump out here in general, so truly it is you who is the winner today.
Definitely, and you immediately go from an Alfheim into an epic cutscene.
Oh, I love this fight.
Oh, it's so much fun. Any time we get to go against Jean is just a delight.
Why so glum? Something troubling you?
Bayo finally got a copy of the script. Yes, it's troubling.
Yes, and she's also just like, well, are you stalking me? Because you seem to know a lot about my thoughts and emotions, and really you do not know me.
How dare you insinuate that I have motherly feelings for that girl?
Although, also, it's just like, what have you done to my baby, bitch?
Really? Yeah, it could be either. I'm glad they left it ambiguous.
To be honest, I think it's a mixture of both with Bayonetta, because she has clearly got a sort of fierce motherly instinct, despite the fact of how much she tries to hide it. But also there is that sense of pride about her, of going, don't you dare insinuate anything about me.
God, this choreography is amazing, though.
Just, the choreography throughout the entire game is amazing.
Tell me where she is, now. My, aren't we?
And we're also going to get a little bit of further relationship building between Bayonetta and Jean right here.
He'll never shut up about it, and his whining is twice as irritating as anything the child could muster.
She's not wrong, honestly.
Very true, and it's quite a good get-out clause for being so blasé about the situation.
What are you hiding? Correct. correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these might mean something to you.
Yeah, it says Cereza and Jean on the rock. I mentioned this a couple of parts ago.
Yes, although she just tosses it away like it's nothing, the bitch.
It is nothing. Henshin and Go-Go, baby. What?
Well, yeah, we're not quite tensioning just yet. We've got another Cardinal Virtue just popping in for a quick cutscene here.
I love this guy. Unfortunately, we won't be taking him on until the next part, so you won't have to wait long either way. But yeah, he's only here to say hello right now.
And Jean's just saying, get the fuck out of here, by stamping on his head.
They put up a lot, or with a lot, do these virtues, but hey, that's what you get when you hire outside the agency.
Pretty much, yeah. And fun story here, actually. That Cardinal Virtue is actually the monster that caused the chaos at the airport. So he's the one who caused the plane to, or Cereza to end up somewhere in the plane.
Interesting.
Your violent fate. Accept it and earn the left eye.
Oh, she's spouting philosophy at me again, Richie.
I know, it's just like, for God's sake, shut about this left bloody eye, nobody cares.
Then I've got like this vicar's voice in my head, get out of here.
I know, it's just like, don't say my dear sweet child, it sounds super creepy.
Right, we ready to fight now? We've had like 5 cutscenes.
No, we've still got a little bit more to go, because Jean's just like, I've just dumped her into the ocean, and then Bayonetta's just like, excuse me, bitch.
Richie is at maximum sass today and it's kind of annoying me, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, now let's begin.
Yes, and we get to the absolutely stunning piece of music that is Red and Black. We heard it during the first Jean fight, not the first one, but the one during Chapter 5.
Yeah.
And it's glorious there, and it's just glorious here as well, I love it. And this is not going to be my best fight against Jean, I don't think. But thankfully I have Celine's light, so really she's not going to get too much on me, because I go immediately into witch time whenever she hits me, so take this.
Just an automatic counter, really.
Pretty much, and I know it's a kind of very cheap way of playing Bayonetta, but it's safe and it still results in good rankings, so I will take it.
Well, I mean, you're not casually playing Bayonetta, you're recording for a playthrough here.
Exactly, and I mean, to be fair, even if I was casually playing it, I'd just be like, yeah, can I just have that, please? Because it's really helpful.
Why don't we get our own motorbike?
Because we don't need one most of the time. And really, this was a potentially stupid maneuver that I was making, because when she's in that drifting slide move, she's kind of constantly attacking. So while you can witch time her, you second you go out of witch time, you'll get hit by her again. So that's why I ended up in a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to do well in the damage department on this one.
Definitely not. But it's okay, because I think I've built up enough of a buffer in my other verses throughout here to deal with this. And that's pretty much always the case every time that I have ever faced Jean. And to be fair, not as bad as it could have been. I know I got a bronze for damage, but everything else was really high. So it worked out in the end.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I don't quite get what occurred there either. I think it was the Cardinal Virtue just going, hold it! She's mine now.
Yeah, you tenderize the meat, but I'll be the one partaking of it. And this is how you do an escape sequence on a plane that is submerging.
And this can be really easily cheaped if you have double Durga, because if you have both electric versions, you can just walk on this stuff and it doesn't hurt you.
Disgusting. Just breaking the game. Breaking the game.
Unfortunately, as mentioned with the other instance earlier in this part of me not having double Durga, I don't have double Durga. So I have to do the really slightly terrifying manoeuvres of Beast Within-ing over gaps to try and make it to the end of this corridor. Thankfully it's not that long, but still. And also we're getting a nice helpful thing detailing the eyes of the world here. Sort of explaining actually more about what they actually are, in that they are basically something that allows the Umbral Witches and Lumen Sages to oversee the passage of time in history. But nobody actually knows what they were, what shape they took, and exactly what they allowed people to do.
Yeah, but there's a picture of a gem right there.
Well, you see, that's because a large gemstone came onto the market under the name the Eyes of the World.
Oh, okay.
So, people think it might be that, but it's very, very suspect. And what's even more suspect is the person who's selling it.
Yeah, maybe go after him first rather than the treasure and you get all your answers. I gotta be honest, at this point in the story, it's kind of hard to prolong the mystery anymore because a lot of you have probably already figured it out.
Probably, but I mean, it also helps that, you know, the game's been out for like 8 years, so... I remember when I first played the game, I think I had an inkling of where well, to be fair, I'd already seen the entire story, so I knew where it was going. But before I saw the story, I had an inkling of where it was going, but didn't fully comprehend that it was actually definitely going to go there.
Yeah.
And yes, we now have to escape carrying Cereza.
Oh boy, I hope you've got that gauge of despair, because that's definitely going to help you.
Oh, it'll help, but this is nowhere near as terrifying as the Alfheim, because you don't have nearly as many angels, and also, if Cereza gets hit, it doesn't actually matter. Because, I mean, it matters if they break through the barrier, because that will result in Bayonetta dying. But you can survive numerous hits, so really it's just a case of get Cereza to the furthest possible part that you can, and then it's a case of killing all the angels as quickly as possible, because that electrified water is constantly rising as you go.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to move it as fast as you can.
Very nice.
You see, pulling it right back from the
Oh my god!
yes, the plane's going full on Titanic now. It's pretty much that instance where you just think, is it going to go, you're here, there's nothing I fear.
Stop it! No! I don't want to get copyright ID'd, okay? Or content ID to use the actual term. People get, like, copyright strike and content ID, like, confused a lot, I've noticed.
They do. They really, really do. I think it's because YouTube gets them mixed up all the time as well. Because YouTube doesn't know what is actually meant to be a strike or what should just be a content ID claim. But hey! It's also basically why I think my delightful network decided to just cut ties with me.
Okay, Richie. Ooh, calm it down.
It's fine, because Dad was never really in it for the money anyway, so who cares?
And you're on HFC now, and the money matters even less to him. Oh, good job the moon was out just long enough for us to witch walk, right?
Pretty much, and part of me was terrified that I had ended up missing the final verse because I ran up to the top before the verse end screen had appeared, and I was like, don't you dare, don't you dare!
I've been retaking too many times to mess up now.
Yeah, but it was one of those moments of just going, no, don't you dare do this to me. But it's fine, got my platinum, and we get to enjoy a lovely bit of angel attack.
Ah, wonderful. Well, don't think Bayonetta's battle on the high seas is ended just yet, folks. We may be out of the wreckage, but we're not out of the fire yet, so to speak.
Yes, and to be honest, we are pretty much going from the frying pan into the fire.
You okay there, Rich?
Yeah, just getting my metaphors all messed up just in time for the end of the part. This was such an absolute just mess.
It really was, but hey, we're the One Take Kids now. See you next time for more Bayonetta. You need to calm the fuck down, my friend.